Hi there, my name is Ange, otherwise known as Punky Geek, and this week's video is a Let's Explore, and it's a Let's Explore trigger warnings. Now, I am going to cover some fairly controversial and possibly sensitive things in this video, so if you are easily triggered or offended, you might want to click away. There's your warning, and I ain't going to apologise for it. So for those of you who are lucky enough not to know what a trigger warning is, it's basically a note at the top of an article or at the start of a video, for example, where it's some sort of note about the content of the article or the video. Things that are traditionally covered are suicide, mental health issues, rape, that kind of thing. And I am totally behind giving warnings for them. And a history of trigger warnings in brief, it started off in feminist sites where people could go to have a safe place. And so obviously I can understand why they would want to give, oh, my arm is hurting holding this, there we go. And I can obviously understand why sites like that would want to give warnings for the kind of content that it was going to cover. Completely understandable, especially considering the nature of some feminist websites and the topics that they discuss. More recently it has leaked over into sites like Facebook and back in the day LiveJournal, for example. And again, I can understand why people may want to give trigger warnings on their fanfic, because what some people might be comfortable reading about, others may not be. But trigger warnings have now reached over into real life. Now, I myself keep my internet life away from my real life as much as possible. I mean, on YouTube, what you see is what you get. This is pretty much me. But drama in my real life, I may not necessarily discuss on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. But so in real life, life doesn't come with a warning, generally. Whereas on the internet, where I can choose what I want to read, I do appreciate a trigger warning, completely. But it's getting kind of silly what people are now giving trigger warnings for, or I've heard about giving trigger warnings for. Like, it's a generation, and I'm young enough to go into the category of millennium. Are we becoming a bit too special snowflake-ish? I hate that phrase, but you know, it's appropriate in this case. When people are like, discussing chocolate may be triggering to anorexics, or, you know, I have read reports where universities are now allowing people to skip law lectures that are going to cover rape and sexual assault. And you know, I have also heard of universities that are giving content warnings about their literature courses. Now, for me, the job of literature is to help people explore in a safe way things that they may not necessarily come across in their real life, or may not be comfortable exploring in a real life situation, but by doing it through characters and fictional scenarios, it does help lead discussions and the like. And I'm a little bit concerned about law lecturers allowing students to skip lectures about sexual assault, if the reports I have read are true, and I will link them so you can judge for yourself. I'm sorry, but if you're training to be a lawyer, you may, especially if you're like working in sort of public lawyer you may not get a choice about what you defend, and so at some point a lawyer is going to have to help a defendant who has done some pretty scummy things, and the details are going to come out. Now, also with regards to that, like in jury service, I have done jury service years and years ago, so I'm not going to give details obviously, but one of the cases I was on was, well, one of the cases I was selected for was a sexual assault case, and even though I was dismissed from the jury because reasons I wasn't picked, I did stay in the court until I was dismissed while they discussed the details. And if you're a member of a jury in the UK, you don't get a choice about what cases you are put on. So I'm just waiting for the inevitable, well, I hope not inevitable, but probably is inevitable, where some 18-year-old is going to be like, that bit of evidence has triggered me, because the judge is going to laugh in their face. So a trigger warning is good or bad? I mean, psychologically there is a technique called flooding, where they basically make you face your fears. And there has been like reports that I have read where I have been trying to do a little bit of research for this, where psychologists have come out by saying, like, you know, by avoiding your triggers you're actually making them worse. So like, I mean, yes, it's unpleasant to read about on the internet, but at the same time it's like things that you may have to deal with in life, and if we are avoiding things on the internet, are we actually preparing ourselves for the day where we may have to face it in real life? I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence about this. I mean, like, some things I think if you are reading about on the internet, especially in like fan fiction or like message boards or Facebook, where you're going to like relax, a warning may be appreciated. And of course, like on the news now, where it's like, this contains sensitive content, yeah, I mean, that's a nice thing and it's great, and I'm not arguing against that. But when it is creeping over from like the non-internet world into real life, I think this is where we start having the issues, because real life, unfortunately, as much as we may want to pretend the internet is real life, people can present themselves in a different way on the internet, and so as such I would class the internet as not real life. I mean, friendships and stuff can start on the internet and then breed over into real life, and vice versa, and I'm not disputing that, but the people you talk to in forums or whatever may be presenting a false image of themselves, especially like on social media, so that isn't real life as far as I'm concerned. And as such, trigger warnings appreciated. I use the internet to relax, I use the internet as a bit of escapism, and so if I don't want to read stuff about suicide or rape or whatever, then it's nice to have the warnings from that perspective. But when they're getting like trigger warnings in university, I'm sorry, it's not the university's job to coddle people. University's job, and you know, the news's job, is to inform and to educate and to sort of prepare people, help them grow up a bit. And as such, like, are universities failing people by issuing trigger warnings and giving them safe spaces and all of that stuff? Yeah, I think there might be, actually. But yeah, that's just a quick video with some thoughts on it. If you like this, give it a like. If you want more like this, click that subscribe button. I've been Ange, and I'm hoping to get another video up on Sunday. So until then, bye!